And I'm, like a unicorn now. So I was in the marketing, now I'm in education. So sometimes I'm having this thinking like no one else does. So just try to not think about your tool as an educational tool. Just think about it as a regular tool. Keep the education aside. What would you do to gain the interest for this tool from the people? And don't think it's educational tool. Okay. How would you advertise it? Where would you like to see your advert? That's also a great question, right? In education, it's everywhere. Gaining attention now is the most important. Doesn't matter if you gain it using AI or handwork, etc. That's the biggest part of this experience that it's working now and it's needed for me.
Today's guest is Paulina Krukowska, a seasoned expert in digital marketing with over 15 years of experience leading strategy and campaigns for big marketing agencies. Paulina still works full-time in advertising, but in recent years she has taken on a parallel mission, applying that same strategic thinking to the world of education. From teaching university students to supporting EdTech founders, she found purpose in helping education systems communicate, evolve, and connect more effectively. In this episode, we talk about what most EdTech startups get wrong, why marketing isn't just a nice to have, and how to build tools that actually solve real problems, not just look good in a pitch deck. Paulina brings a rare combination of business acumen and genuine care for impact, and this conversation is full of both. If you enjoy this kind of deep, honest conversation, hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to EdTech Dots podcast, because the bigger the channel, the bigger the guests. I wanted to talk to you, not just because of your killer experience in strategy and marketing, but because you know how to bridge the world of business with purpose. And that's exactly what EdTech needs right now. I want to dig into what EdTech gets right and where it stumbles. Ready to dive in?
Of course, always.
Lovely. So you've worked with big names like H&M, Allegro, top marketing agencies, and so on. What did those experiences teach you about building stuff that actually works?
I think it's super important to gain experience in big names. I'm not telling about the top tier of, I don't know, PVC, Deloitte, etc. But even H&M or Allegro, which is, as I'm not sure if everyone knows, but it's the biggest retailer in Poland, and they're trying to gain some floor in Europe, competing with Amazon, for example. I think it's giving you the opportunity to test things that work in a marketing world and in digital work. And then you see how the process can enable even things for education, for example, works. And I must admit that I was tired with working for marketing, the pure one, because it's not a big deal to make the big names gain more, right? And I know it's obvious, and I know that how private sector works, that they're all about the profit and revenue, etc. And I'm okay with that. Okay, that's the world we're living now. But on the other hand, I know and I'm aware now that some of the strategies used in marketing and sales are perfect to use in education. Because what's from my perspective the most important now is to somehow make kiddos and adults also, because I'm working both with kids, with high schoolers and with adults, to be curious and to want to gain the knowledge. Because we've got the switch of the paradigm, and now there are discussion around this 4Ks with the education. So the critical thinking, creativity, communication, cooperation, right? And what I will add to this 4Ks, that's my K, is the curiosity. Because I think without it, no one wants it. And what I gain from the marketing for big names is to drive this curiosity to any topic, you need to use the marketing tools. It's super simple, like, preparing the pitch decks for a big clients, etc., for RFQs, RFPs. I gain the knowledge how to approach to the kiddos and adults which would like to learn something. So
Mhm,
I know now how to gain the attention and how to make these people really want to learn. So I think that's the biggest gain I got from these big names.
mhm.
But still, it's still valid. It's not only in education, it's everywhere. Gaining attention now is the most important. Doesn't matter if you gain it using AI or handwork, etc. I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest part of this experience that it's working now and it's needed for me.
So, how would you mm, mm, precise a little bit? What are the one or two main things that a tech startup can do to gain attention?
I think at first is to not think about problems, but really get some insights. Because and that's also what was working with marketing pretty nicely. So you're really getting to have a deep research on the issue. So try to find out what's the biggest pain point and try to find solution, because it's always about talking with the language of, okay, I've got a solution for you. It's not that I've got marvelous idea. No, I'm not interested in it. I've got a problem. I need a solution for this problem. So I think with the ad techs, they really should research what are the nowadays problem, and try
Mhm,
to solve them, not to think about something completely new to be developed. Sometimes, okay, that might be interesting, but if we're looking for real attention and we really want people to use this tool, and I think that's the most important, that we really want this tool to be used every day by everyone and give some I don't know, making your life easier in truth. So try to deep dive into the topic, or try to, I don't know, make some IDIs, or I don't know, you can gain information out of everywhere and try to really find a solution. So that's exactly how it is in marketing. Someone has an issue. Okay, we're not
mhm,
selling the product X. Okay, we've got an idea with what's the solution to solve it. So it's one to one, with the education. So if you see there is an issue, try to find solution and then go to the client or try to solve it by your own, and try to think about it as a product you will deliver. And what's on the other hand, the worst case scenario is that you're thinking about problems that might happen. I know the future thinking is something really we're on all now, and
mhm,
it's good, but I think we've got more problems that are happening now than the one we can think about in the future, okay? Because we're thinking about how AI will jeopardize our work, and we're not thinking now how it can help our work at the time, because we won't skip this part. So don't think too forward, think about current situation, and also try to create tools that don't need, for example, 10 years of development. Sorry, I know
mhm,
it's an issue, but I didn't have a product with 10 years development, but even 1 year or 2 year, it's pretty huge. Try with
mhm,
some easy MVP and check with a group of, I don't know, if it's tool for teachers with the teachers, if it's tool for students with the students. Check on or on some small group to check out if it's really working, if it's need, and if it's going to work. Don't try to overthink it. Really, it's not about it. It's usually about super simple solution that might make your life easier. It
mhm.
doesn't matter if you're a teacher or a student. It works both way.
Okay, so to boil that down to the two things, first of all, find a real problem that real people have for real,
Yeah,
not only you and your friends and your inside your bubble.
exactly.
And I guess that's very difficult thing to do because you have to, think in other people's shoes. So that's the one thing, and the second thing is to uh, build an MVP, right? Not to build a whole fledged, whole full product already, but start with something small and test ideas.
Yes. I think that's the basics. And I think it's the great starting point. And I know it's good that you mentioned the bubble, because, yes, we're living in a bubble. And
Mhm,
especially all those involved in software development, in digital marketing, etc., we take some of the ideas we've got for granted, meaning some of the solutions we think, oh, it's so obvious, it's of course someone already think about it and didn't use it. No, sometimes they didn't have this background of what's possible, what's able to be delivered.
mhm,
And yeah, try to deep dive. Really, that's what I've done. Yeah, I decided to be part-time teacher in a high school, and I
Mhm.
decided to be also lecturer at the university, the public ones, because I know that sometimes the private sector is also, even in education, is some kind of biased. So what I'm doing now, I'm really gaining a lot of experience, and I'm seeing the pain points of people actually working in education, being
Mhm.
part of this system. So, for example,
Right, but wait. Why did you do that? What was your like? What was your thinking? Uh, Many people can ask, wait. She has a great career in marketing, working for the greatest brands as you can have in Europe and maybe even worldwide. And why, why in the world you would like to go to an academic path?
it's
That's not sexy. It's insane. Sounds insane.
it's I'm not I don't know if it sounds insane. You know, I think that every time when you're thinking about your life, you're deciding what you're gonna be remembered for. Sorry. So maybe at this point of my life, so after 15 years in marketing with some successes, I didn't quit it. It's not that I'm, fully academic now. No,
Hmm.
I'm doing half and half. So from my perspective, it was some kind of a mission call, because what
Hmm.
I really think is where my experience can be used properly
Hmm.
and where it can gain something more than a profit for the company. So thinking about positive externalities of education and considering it's I think one of the best example of merit goods, etc., I decided to involve in this branch, and it
Hmm.
was very I think deep inside I always think about joining education and
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't remember. I must ask my mother if that was my childhood dream to become a teacher. Maybe. Maybe I was wondering about working at post office. That was. I remember this dream. So I think that's something that is giving you something more than just money. Sorry, maybe it's brutal truth, and considering Polish environment, it's giving you a really, really small amount of money, education in the public sector.
Yeah.
But I've been in a place when I was earning a lot, and I enjoy it, I must admit. But on the other hand, this lack of mission and purpose was, I'm not saying killing me, but
Hmm.
I decided that I want to do also something that is more meaningful, not only from the perspective of gains, thinking from the economic perspective, but also gains from this more social perspective. And I really feel that what I'm doing at the moment, I'm teaching economics, so
Hmm.
it's also something really connected to my business experience. So I see those people getting this knowledge, understanding it, trying to solve some real life issues, and who will teach them this? No one. So I know that might sound pretty crazy, but I decided that I want to combine both. So the experience in marketing with the education, and I'm juggling now with all of this. It's happened to be pretty horrible, but especially waking up in the morning to get to class at 8 a.m., for example. And I must Yeah, and I also had two small kiddos, so I think that
Hmm.
also might be some trigger,
Hmm.
because I want them to be teach by teachers with mission and with purpose. I
Okay.
remember my education in public school, and it was okay. I really enjoyed it. I didn't have any bad experience. I know that a lot of people has. But I also want this for my kiddos. So I want them to have passionate teachers with some not only theoretical knowledge, but also some practical experience that will really give them some, I don't know, this kick for curiosity and for searching what's good for them in their life, what they want to do, etc. So I think that also might be some part of this decision that I want something better, so private life coming into your business.
Makes perfect sense.
Huh.
Makes
Good
perfect
to hear
sense.
that.
Uh, I can relate to the fact that working in marketing can easily burn you out easily, and pursuing only the KPIs and money can be like, I don't know, break into your well-being. And that's something I also find in education, that you mm, pursue a bigger thing, that you have something more than only here and now. And that brings me to the next question. And does being in both worlds give you any insight on how real change in education might actually happen?
Yeah, it does. And I think it also connected to what you said and about the well-being and marketing, because
Mhm.
what I've experienced in marketing was a burnout. And what I seen amongst the teachers, it's
Mm.
also issue with the
Yeah.
well-being. And I think that's something that we're not aware of as a people outside of it. But those people really, I'm one of those now. So, but I'm still talking about them like them. They really need support, because what's giving them the biggest issue and what's giving the burnout,
Mhm.
it's not the contact with students or with high schoolers, etc.
Mhm.
It's all the other stuff they are obliged to do, which are administrative work, which are,
Mhm.
for example, preparation for the classes, doing the tests, etc. And what I've seen there is a huge amount of tools that might be used, which will make their life easier. And that's what I'm doing, really. And I'm giving it as an experience, and I'm sharing an example for my colleagues from high school, for example. Guys, you know that you can do this, this, and this. And they said, wow, it was 2 hours for me now. And now it's, 6 minutes, for example, with a proper prompt.
Mhm.
But it's another thing that in true, we don't know as a teachers if we're able, and it's okay for us to use AI tools for supporting our work. So I think every marketing tool or even digital tool or other tool, which we even, simple stuff like project management tools
Mhm.
for example, arranging whole year lessons, and
Mhm.
keeping the progress for your students. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on guns with my students.
Really?
Because otherwise I don't know if we're going on a good pace with all the material they supposed to be working on. I'm not sure if their progress is okay. So really, before
And
start
how do you measure the students' progress, the
with the
specific
quizzes
student
and
progress?
tests, so they are getting the questions chapters. So, but that's still, I'm putting the results in here so I can see who understands the topic from chapter 1, and from the chapter 2 it's not that easy for that person. So
Mhm.
it's giving me great insights, and I think it's making this education path for the students more, I will say, intense, but I don't know if that's gonna really be the good word for it. But I think that if they see that I'm monitoring their progress, I care about it, they're also caring more about the topic. And from my perspective, I've got this peace of mind that I know that they are on the right path, they're doing stuff that they should do. And I think I'm the only teacher who's thinking about this way. And that's because I remember doing huge projects, marketing ones, and I know that you cannot skip any of this phases. So you're doing this one by one, and then you see the final result. So I
Mhm.
think that's something that it's super important, and no one is teaching teachers that. So me having this experience, I can give them as an example, for example, or showing them something. But it's also second thing if they want to use it, because it's, you were working one way for last 15 years, and then someone is coming and telling, okay, that might be easier, but there is always this barrier of changing your approach and behavior. So yeah, but that's one of the super simple thing, right? So I'm trying to make my life as a teacher easier, meaning I'm trying to cut off all the necessary things that will probably take a lot of my time, because what I know, it's probably told, I don't know if it's told loud enough, but
Mhm.
teachers work at school when you've got these hours. I've got, for example, 9 hours weekly. It sounds, oh, wow, 9 hours weekly of work. Wow, that's wonderful. Of course, it's part time. But I must admit that it's at least 9 extra hours at home I'm doing for the preparation, even with all these tools I'm using, etc. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking someone who is not using it, but maybe has more experience, it's probably using also at least twice this time at home for the preparation for quizzes and test checking.
So
For
suddenly those 9 hours triples.
Yeah, yeah, you get paid only for these 9 hours, So that's the most painful thing. So I'm trying to make the best use of this 9 hours I've got paid for, and trying to somehow be still super nicely prepared for my classes, because that's non-negotiable, because I want my students to feel that they are taken care of, that I know what I'm talking about, that materials are recent. For example, if I'm sharing some articles with them, okay, I'm checking if we've got something maybe more recent, etc. But I'm using the tools to, in true, make my time which I'm spending on it the most effective. And I think that's something that it's maybe stop somehow this burnout if you're not spending, for example, 2 hours checking tests, but you can do this semi-automatically, right? If you're prepare it properly. So yeah, I think that might be the situation. So yeah.
And do you think like you're given an example, like all right, you said that you try to give an example, but do you feel like you're being followed? That someone has observed what you've been doing with AI and took out some of your tools or methods in order to be more effective in teaching?
Yeah, like everywhere, there are some people who are really interested, and I'm a new teacher. I'm a newcomer to the school, so everyone is thinking, oh, a next
Yeah.
crazy lady would like to change something. But there are some people which are really interested and really willing to discuss it. For example, okay, how are you doing this, and maybe we will also implement it. What's also interesting, I've got already one session with the principal of the high school, and she asked me about the tools I'm using, and she was really curious, and she was really, okay, that sounds great. So how much time did you save, etc. So she's interesting. And I think that sometimes maybe it's necessary that, for example, the principal will say, okay, we've got a great example in here. Maybe someone would like to use it. It's not about, sometimes bottom up, but it's top down. So maybe that will help. But also, I'm in a high school. I'm only few months. I work
Mhm.
for 10 plus years on academia now. But I know that something that might be for me easy, and I implemented it easily and fast, I must check it will gonna work for whole year, right? Now we're 3 months starting September, and I know that my Gantt is working really good, and I'm really happy with this solution. But I already have two more, and I'll probably check them during this next semester, and then we can discuss with principal if it's working or not. Maybe we can implement it or not. But
Mhm.
it also cannot be forced. It's everywhere. It's not only in education. If you force something, it's never gonna be used. And I think what was the critical point with the changes in education with COVID,
Mhm.
because during the COVID, people were forced finally to use the digital tools. Even these old professors, which never touched the computer, they were supposed to have a classes online with the students, so they have to break this barrier. And I think this kind of crises and a really difficult situation sometimes is giving people the right kick to do
Mhm.
the change. Now we're in a more, maybe calm times, gratefully, but seeing that so much is changing through the AI, I think that might be, I'm not comparing AI to COVID pandemic,
Mhm.
but I think that might be another kick for people to get change, because if they won't follow, it might be, they might stay behind. And especially with the kiddos, which are really nicely working with AI. I'm not telling everyone, of course, but within my group, I've got kids who are really smartly using these tools. It's not a copycat, and it's not like, prompting for writing essay for me. No, they're really this curiosity I was telling already. They are really trying to gain some knowledge out of AI, and they're using it as a tool, and a tool for their own purpose. So yeah, I think that maybe teachers will also benefit, and they will see that there is no way back. If they won't, decide to use it or implement it somehow, they will probably not treat it as a, I don't know. I don't know. If they, I think that the issue is that we're trying to be mentors for the students. And it's hard to be a mentor if they outskilled you out of something. So if they are using AI on their daily basis and you never seen any LLM, I think that's something that there is no way to have a conversation like equal. So yeah, I think that might be another kick for the education brand
Mhm.
and industry, and also for the teachers itself to get
Right,
in.
and let's stop here for a moment, because when I hear that COVID was a kick
Yeah,
for change in education, I have the notion that it was a short-lasted kick and short-lasted change, and everything, maybe not everything, but most of the daily work got back to the previous state, and if AI will be a short-lived kick as well, then it makes a bleak picture of the possibility to change in education at all. And that brings me to an important question, because we here, at least in this podcast, we are focusing on EdTech tools. So, and you mentioned multiple tools, technology tools. So I am wondering, maybe some of your experience from a marketing and strategy and big brands and observing a corporate world brings you to some kind of a conclusion. What does it take to go from a nice idea to something that really works and sells at the same time?
it's hard to tell about selling in the educational sector, because what I'm seeing that the best tools are the free tools, of course.
Of course.
So people
But
are,
we all know that free tools comes with some kind of selling as well. Someone is
yeah.
paying for the technology,
But what
always.
you said about the pandemic and the Microsoft tools, which were obliged in some of the schools, for example, and in the others, the Google tools were obliged. So people are still using them, and everyone is using. It's in Poland. It's Librus, so it's a place when you are communicating with parents. You're also putting the grades. You're putting the themes, meaning
Mhm.
what the lesson was about, and it's working. It's not for free, I know, but the schools are purchasing it, and teachers are obliged to use it. Also, parents are obliged to use it.
Mhm.
So these tools work. It's imperfect. It's super imperfect. If I will design it from scratch, I will hire really two good UX designers, because when I entered this word and they told me, okay, Paulina, so that's the Librus. You heard about it? I say, yeah, I heard about it. Have you seen it? No, I never seen it before. And you entered the
Brace
word,
yourself.
like, yeah, it was like, I don't know, 1995, and you're opening your computer and nothing is working properly. You have to log 3 times to add the grades. It's horrible, so that's this problematic situation. You've got the tool that everyone is using, which is imperfect, but still everyone is using. And then you can have a perfect tool which no one will use, because there will be, for example, barrier because of the price, or
Mhm.
the barrier because it might be used only on specific type of computers, or only can be used on mobile devices. Okay, so think about availability, and that it has to be something that is really non-excludable and non-rebellious, meaning everyone can use it on the same level, and it's super easy to operate. Because think about the teachers which has this much work to do. So if something really isn't easy to operate with and it isn't super useful, they won't use it. Okay, they might be forced, like with their Libras,
I
but
like. Mhm.
if you want someone to be really involved in the tool, that must be something that is really, really useful, and it's really giving you, for example, some time to do something else in the same time. So what I said at the very beginning, do not overthink it and overcomplicate. Think about super simple. It don't have to be, because I also remember this from the marketing world, when you were trying to implement some subs, herbs, etc. That was, million possibilities and million functions, etc. When you were using 1% of all of this, right?
Mhm.
So in here, think about this 1%. Think about how your tool can help the teachers in 1%. Maybe it's, for example, writing the descriptive grades for your students.
Mhm.
Getting some base of this, what you're using, because you're usually using the similar statements, etc., comparing it to the test results and seeing what might be improved. One thing, okay? Another 1%. Maybe you need something for communicating with parents. And what I've seen, that Librus was thinking about closing the Librus for teachers after 6 p.m. because parents didn't want to receive the communication after 6 p.m. So we weren't able to, type anything. So maybe do something with postponed messages. So you can do this at 6 p.m., but it will be sent at between 7 and 6 or next day. There is sometimes so small issues which solving them will really help the teachers and the
Mhm.
students also. That might be better idea than trying to prepare one huge tool to solve multiple problems. Sometimes really one tool that is really responsible for only one action will be enough. So what I'm thinking now are the AI agents, right? Because you can prepare one for one specific action and it's really working.
Mhm.
But I think, from my perspective, that for most of the teachers, preparing an AI agent will be something super complicated. So maybe doing them on their behalf, right? And giving them as a free tool, or I don't know, introducing it for the school principal, which is usually deciding on the tools we're working with, and say, okay, that's the tool that is solving this issue. We heard that there is this issue in multiple schools. Maybe you also have this issue. So not forcing, but really asking about the real problems and trying to solve them with simplicity. So I
Mhm.
think that's something that might have chance to sell. If you're thinking about huge tool that will solve all of the problems, feel free. But I also see that the different schools got different problems, and it's, from my perspective now, impossible to prepare a tool that will fit all. So
Mhm.
you'll probably have part of the market interested in it, part of the market not interested. But again, in Poland, for example, you have to have the acceptance of the Ministry of Education if you have this tool. So also think about it. Maybe it's a good solution to ask the ministry what they're really looking for, and maybe they've got some bigger insights from the schools, right? But I really don't know how to approach the ministry now because they're still in 1995 in my perspective. So I don't know if it's going to be the good conversation. But still, I think that's what we should really take care is at one thing. It's the well-being of the teachers. So trying to make their life easier, knowing what they have to do. And on the other hand, is thinking about the students, because what I see with, for example, e-tutoring from Google or other stuff, most of the kids are already, and of course, on some level, they're ready to gain the education on their own. They really need
Mhm.
just mentoring. They know where to find the information. They sometimes know how to find the explanation for the information if they didn't understand something.
Mhm.
They need more like a mentoring and guidance through these tools and through this multiple possibilities that are behind them. So I think that's something that we should concentrate. So at one thing, maybe okay. So that's the brilliant ideas sometimes come out of the conversation. So maybe a tool that is telling you if this source is reliable or not.
Mhm.
So I know we can check it, but maybe generator, if it's bot or it's not bot, or it's reliable or not. Of course, we can use only the BBC and New York Times and Financial Times resources on our classes on economics. But people sometimes, and students sometimes, find the information otherwise. And I say, okay, was it a reliable source? And they said, okay, I don't remember. So, you know, green light, red light, reliable, not reliable. Okay, let's do this. So I think those are the simplicity one in here in education. We don't have time to dig
Mhm.
to the super complex tools. So yeah, maybe if you find something super complex and you're ready to implement it everywhere with proper trainings for everyone, so everyone will know how to use it, and breaking the barrier of using it and introducing the new system, sure, but you will probably invest a
Mhm.
lot, and that
Mhm.
might be
Burn
postponed.
a lot as well. Right. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the digital marketing sphere. Uh, what role do you think that digital marketing can have in EdTech product success? Because you're speaking a lot about mm, uh, your real needs, like you're speaking about product development a lot.
Yeah.
And let's assume that we have the product already on the market. And what kind of digital marketing mm, schema would you apply for an EdTech startup for it to succeed?
When I observe the teachers, and I'm also thinking about myself, we're usually browsing for the inspiration in sometimes governmental resources because they're also sharing a
Mhm.
lot. I know I told that it's 1995, but they have some people who are still who are already in 2025.
Who are trying?
They are trying, yeah. So maybe they will achieve one day. I think there's no difference between the EdTech tools and other tools. It's,
Mhm.
like other. I think the most critical part is to find the good placement for your digital campaign. So really thinking about where your clients are. And
Mhm.
the clients, I mean, at first, the teachers, if you're having a tool for teacher, and on other hand, where are the principals, which sometimes have the bigger impact on your decision, because we must, I think, divide the tools that are available for any teacher and might be used freely,
Mhm.
and the tools that are forced by the school, for example, or the ministry even. So I think finding the right placement and try to find the way to explain how the tool is working and what kind of problems it's solving. So if I will think in a category of digital formats, I will think about, for example, short video format showing exactly the situation, even with some
Mhm.
tutorial, really
Like
basic
explainer video, right?
explanatory video, or just maybe it's the second step, because the first step should be like a video. Okay, do you have the problem like this, and showing the real life problem. Might be we might have a solution. Okay, check this out. And another step is to somehow encourage people to use the tool, to download it or to check it. Is okay, how that is how it looks. So explanatory videos for sure. I think that also in digital marketing for EdTech tools, I think the big impact has mm, I don't know if we can call them, but we have also educational influencers in every category, right? We have some people who are really great and having wonderful social media around science, biology, physics, languages, etc. So I really think that they might be not only the digital marketing tools, I mean, but they also can be great evaluators for our tools. So why not to ask them, for example, especially that they are also usually working still at academia or in high schools or in primary schools. So okay, we've got a tool like this. Did you like it? Or maybe we can have a feedback out of you. Maybe you can say something that we can improve and will be better. So I think those, I will say, the category authorities, right? Because they're somehow usually benchmarks for some of us. They're preparing their own workbooks, for example, or they are giving some mentorings how to do this or that, etc. They might be also a good solution. So we're not looking for the, typical influencers, but someone who are, and I'm talking about that for the specific category, for example, for economics in Poland. I think someone who will be influencing will be probably someone who has, I don't know, 1,000 followers, which from the categories of traditional, meaning digital marketing, is it's nano influencer as far as I remember, or even not. But in here with 1,000 followers, and okay, let's assume that half of them are really economic teachers, so 500 economic teacher within Poland. That's probably half of your target group if you're thinking about this specific category. So try not to be again in this your bubble from the digital world, because sometimes these numbers in here might be absolutely different. I think the different approach should be for edtech tools addressed for students, because
Mhm.
it's different group, and I think it's hard to approach them because they're really um they're really not taking well if you're trying to force something for them, but everyone is doing this. And on the second thing, we have them with they're constantly online, right? So they're forced to see multiple advertising, etc. So I'm thinking, if you would like to help them with some edit tool, we should also try to find the good moment during their day when they are, for example, at school, at some break, etc. So what I will try to do for the digital marketing might be, for example, using the Librus for Polish perspective. They has also this, banner site on the top, and they can probably cooperate. So if something is education related, I think it should be still in education related content, because otherwise that will be, I feel, need to diminish, because we don't have usually at Tech don't have that budgets that has traditional competences. For example, I don't know, let's name it Coca-Cola. So we cannot compete with them, right? With the traditional digital marketing, because the bidding is not on our behalf and we're not going to win it. But again, maybe finding the way to approach the school itself and switching from digital to traditional marketing, and just go to school, ask students that, hey guys, we've got a new tool that might help you, share your feedback. If you like it, download it, etc., etc. That's the first step. Second one is probably make some, I don't know, bigger campaign. There are still EdTech fairs, and I think there are, in general, educational fairs happening in Poznań, for example. So being there and seeing mostly teachers coming there is a great space for introduce your tool, especially if you see the genuine interest from the teachers, because if they will see something that will help them, they will approach you. So I think that's going to be the traditional marketing mix in here. So digital, yes, but think about really good about the placement and possible ambassadors for your tool. And traditionally, I think the teachers are still really looking for this traditional approach, meaning someone coming, someone asking, someone telling, explaining, etc. There's this need of direct communication with them. So yeah.
I love how you connect the digital marketing with the traditional marketing, but I have like another question in my mind. Do you think that marketing in that is still treated like a luxury?
I think it might, because of the costs. And when you're developing the EdTech tool or any other tool in general, you're more concentrated on making it as best as possible and not thinking usually about the go-to-market, which I think is a mistake, because, but it's also about the tool itself. If the tool, it's the perfect saying that if the tool won't sell itself, it's, why you like this tool. So I think, yes, education is not, I'm not saying not good in marketing, but there is really few educational tools that are really advertising somehow, or they're visible any place.
And why is it?
I think they are not thinking about it as a product that should sell, and they're trying to approach only the traditional way. So they're usually probably approaching only the principals and the schools itself, maybe with the even cold mailing. If I'm just assuming, I'm guessing, I don't know it. And for example, not preparing I think that's going to be enough. It's a landing page with explanation what the tool is for, and a simple banner campaign placed on properly, which will gain some attention for the product. Or, preparing super simple profile on LinkedIn or TikTok, which is good if we're addressing the tool for the students more than to the teachers. Showing the tool, explain the tool. Nowadays, with the AI tools, it's not even that complicated to prepare it. It's, of course, probably is going to be extra few days of working, but usually they're starting to think about it after they don't see any sale, or don't see any traffic on their page. How the people should know you've got the page, right? How the people should know you've got the tool, what this tool is doing. So I think it should be think about at the very beginning, and I think it should be think at the level when you're just gaining the information about the tool itself. Meaning, when you're trying to develop the tool, think about where you should advertise it later on. Meaning, where people who are using this tool might search for the information how to solve the issue you're trying to solve. So, for example, if you're having a tool that is easier in up correspondence with the parents, okay, they'll probably just typing in the Google, okay, how to write the perfect email to the parent with something, right? So think about it at the very beginning, even at the level where you're starting to develop the tool. Just prepare simple landing page when you're introducing that the MVP will be ready, etc. And subscribe for the list if you want to use it, because then you will have the test group, for example, from those who are interested. You're building your CEO. So yeah, it's working. But I think the education is still super disconnected from the marketing, meaning they're these people with the mission usually. And I'm like a unicorn now, so I was in the marketing, now I'm in education, so sometimes I'm having this thinking like no one else does. So just try to not think about your tool as an educational tool, just think about it as a regular tool. Keep the education aside. What would you do to gain the interest for this tool from the people? And don't think it's educational tool. Okay, how would you advertise it? Where would you like to see your advert? That's also a great question, right? Because everyone are usually proud of what they've done. So
Of course.
for me, I would love to have, for example, huge out of home on the city of Poznan, the city center. We've got this really, it's, I don't know, 300 square meters banner. So I would like my tool to be there. So I will be proud of it. Maybe it's not the best solution, but still think about how many people are commuting to school every day. And if you put huge QR code with downloading this tool, for example, and explaining what it's do, maybe that's a good invest money, right? It's usually not that expensive as they are thinking. And I think that's also another thing that EdTech people are thinking that advertising must start with 6 digits, for example, right?
Mhm.
So the marketing will be super expensive. No, it don't have to be super expensive. It might be targeted really nicely. It might work on a limited budgets. It might use smart solution that will cut the cost. So it's usually, of course, we can do the 6 digit number campaign. Of course we can. But usually the investment are not that huge, especially that we can have this campaign, for example, for a short time period just to check it out. And then when we'll gain some attention, some of the actions that are happening might be done automatically. So there's no cost needed. So yeah, I think the second barrier is first is that they don't think about it at all because they're not treating their product as a product. And for the second one is they're afraid of the costs.
Mhm. I think from what you're saying, mm, I can clearly hear that you need some kind of budget for that, and this can be that at all you have to spend money on marketing is a no-go for many startups, especially that usually they are built by the teachers themselves or engineers, and both of those categories, let's put it
Hmm.
that way, are not the marketing, are not the sellers, are not, they are not thinking about how to distribute that tool. They are just thinking
Hmm.
about, all right, I have this problem and I know how to solve that. And I know that it's so genius that everyone will follow. And that's just the first part. And the second part is how the people will know
Yeah.
about the tool.
I don't know if it's gonna be good as I'm still working in advertising, but I assure that anyone can make an advertising campaign. Sorry to say that because of course it's gonna be on a different level. Then it's gonna be prepared by advertising agency or someone who is really into the business. But using the super basic tools that are implemented into Meta for Business even
Hmm.
able to drive a campaign which costs you it's $3 per day. That's the minimum cost, $3 per day. Okay. So it's not something out of anyone's budget and you can test it. But to do this, you still need this one of the 5 Ks. You need the curiosity and you need
Curious.
this driver to check it, to find it out if it's needed, if I can do this. So you can do this, of course. If you don't have resources, you can do this on your own. Try it out. It's better to do something that is imperfect than don't do it at all, right? You cannot break it. So be brave and do this. If you have some money, or find a partner who is okay, you're in EdTech and I'm more into advertising. For example, I'm able to do the paid campaign for you with a small budget.
Mhm.
Maybe we can have some partnership, right? Or maybe within your group of friends you have someone who can help you. I know that sounds, weird, but we've done multiple campaigns for non-budgets. Usually they were NGOs and startups, right? I know with the startup they're usually working with this financial model of financing marketing, which is called ICA. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's all you can afford, right? So usually all you can afford in a startup is zero or $10. But with $10, you can still, okay, have the Canva premium for 1 month
Mhm.
and have wonderful assets and invite all group of your friends on your LinkedIn to, or in Instagram or Facebook to follow your webpage. It takes time, of course, and
Mhm.
it takes effort. It takes curiosity to find out how to do this. But still, you can do this, of course. If you have
Mhm.
some limited budget, and even if it's limited, really, think about hiring someone who knows what to do. Because it's sometimes doing the proper advertising campaign might cost you, I don't know, €1,000, and it's going to be top tier. So sometimes it's worth asking. So really, I don't know why people are afraid of that. It's, oh no,
Mhm.
writing an email. Hi, I'm having an ad tech and I would like to have a small advertising campaign for it. I don't have any idea because I don't have any experience, but the tool is great. Maybe you can help me. What's going to be the cost?
Mhm.
Okay, writing
And
this
to be
email is
honest, if when an agency will receive that kind of an email, the honest one, uh, they will check out the tool, probably, most probably, and if the tool is really great, they will fall into that because they will know that it's just a starter, and if when people recognize it, that will grow into a bigger product
of
and a bigger
course.
client.
Of
So,
course, you can
but
work, for example, with the idea that, okay, we can do this for you. It's going to be below our usual costs, of course. But please assure us that in the future, if the tool will grow because we believe it will grow, you will still keep us as your advertising agency, right? And
hmm
we work on
hmm
different budgets.
hmm
That's how it's working, right?
Love it. But on the other hand, it seems to me like in today's world, you can hire, for example, ChatGPT as your marketing
You can.
assistant, let's say. How would you refer to such
I don't
a
have
process?
experience with ChatGPT, but I have with Gemini, for example. And I must admit that with good prompts
Uh-huh.
and nicely prepared gems, it can work nicely. But still, I think to prepare good marketing prompt, you need some background knowledge.
Maybe
I
that's an idea for a product or an ebook for you to create a set of prompts for marketing for edtech startups.
consider it's done. It's a good idea. I just need to find some time to do this. But yeah, I think that people sometimes don't know how to prompt well,
Mhm.
and the results are, you know, I don't. You're probably also on LinkedIn, right? So I'm also there, and I see that half of the communication on LinkedIn now is done on one prompt. So everyone are using the same terminology. Everyone is doing the
Same as
same.
emoticons and so on.
Exactly. So
Guilty.
me too, so we must admit it, but we know that it's happening, right? We're aware of that. And
Right.
with the EdTech, I think the problem is that they are not that fluent in this word. So something that will seems for them as a new, etc., might be considered more like okay, it's already been there and no one clicked that. So yeah, I think the prompting will be necessary. I think Canva is. I'm not a fan of generating images in Gemini or other tools. I think Canva is doing this definitely better. Um, so combining 3, 4 tools probably will. You will be able to have your small marketing digital team with
Mhm.
those tools, right? But
And once you grow, you can hire an agency. That's a
that's
no-brainer
true.
then.
That's true. So
Mhm.
for the level of the MVP and just starting and gaining some attention, I think that's gonna be absolutely enough. Now,
Mhm.
preparing the landing page in Wix, free of charge, okay, and one day. Preparing good prompts and gaining some background knowledge to do this properly, one day. Then setting up the accounts and first campaign, one day. So I think you can really do this in 5-day week in total.
Mhm.
So I know it's usually a lot, especially that some of the people, as me, are doing the educational topics as a side topic. So they are not, maybe there are people who are fully involved only in this, but still 5 work days of your work, it's enough. It's a lot. So consider maybe your 5 days of work. Uh, Try to calculate it into the money with your hourly basis. Maybe it's better to hire someone who will do this on your behalf, because you can also hire a freelancer. You
Mhm.
can hire someone who will help you with something, because but on the other hand, I also saw that the tools implemented already in Google or in Meta in Facebook, they're doing some of the work for you. For example, if you have a Instagram and you would like to make a paid campaign, the first one, they're really giving you wonderful feedback on which post you should promote, which gain the most attention, etc., etc. They're helping you with the target groups, and it's super intuitive. So it's not that you need to think about it. They're really guiding you. So I think it's changing. They want some people who are able to be really self-sufficient there and able to do this. So I think if you want it, yeah, you can do this, of course. But then calculate it if it's worth it, because maybe with this 5 days of work, you can gain more than spending on the on those what would you like to do. But write down what you like to do and what you like to have. If you don't know it, ask ChatGPT. What should I have to promote my EdTech tool? And I think that's step by step. So yeah, but yeah, I will keep in mind the prompting for EdTech marketing.
Mhm. Mhm. Right, and that's a subject that will never end, I guess. And I feel like there is another part of your experience or your personality that I would like to tap into today, and it's sustainability and those ESGs. You have a vast experience with that as well. So. Um, mm, I'm wondering, should EdTech founders care about ESGs at all?
Yes, they should. But
Why?
from the perspective that education is part of the S, it's social.
Mhm,
And I think that everything that is considered part of ESG might be easier to push to the clients. Meaning, if you're thinking about your tool, even if it's an educational tool, but you can explain that it also impacts the ESG of the company if they will implement it,
mhm,
and it will, because usually implementing something that it's helping with this S or any other, sometimes it's help with the governance also.
mhm,
If we're thinking, for example, with the tools that are helping with some administrative work, right? So I think I think what the product designers for EdTech should think about, if it's the tool that is also supporting ESG goals, for example. And if yes, ESG is, it's not at the moment because mostly of the omnibus directive that it's postponed it a little bit.
mhm,
But ESG is also a hot word. And a lot of companies need to adjust to the ESG regulations. So if they see that there's something that might be beneficial from them from this perspective, maybe they will be more willing to check it out. So on this perspective, I think it might be interesting, but I haven't think about different perspectives on that. As maybe that's because from the ESG, I'm working mostly on circularity,
mhm,
and circularity, it's more connected with the traditional production. So um, everyone already heard about the fast fashion, right? But there are also or food waste, right? But we've got multiple different categories like, I don't know, furniture, like extra topics that are covered with the circularity. And then also we needed educational tools, for example, for people who will be responsible for this change process in the industry, for example.
mhm,
So we can think about education on the traditional education, meaning primary, secondary, kindergarten, high school, etc. But think also about the educational tools for the employees, right? Because
mhm,
they also need to get knowledge on, for example, how to calculate the LCA of the product, right? Because the in a 2030, as far as I remember, every product need to have the product passport, and within the product passport, they need to be mentioned what's their LCA, so life cycle assessment, what's the country of origin of each part of the product, etc. And it's digital passport. So
Right.
anyone who will be doing this within the firm need to know how to do this. So, okay, we need another education level for the employees, for example. And there's multiple examples on that. So EdTech don't have to be connected only with the education on the traditional name of the education, but also the education, for example, on the behalf of ESG, because there is a lot
Mm-hmm.
to be told already. And I think that doing it on a level of nicely prepared courses is definitely better than reading the workbook, because or
Mm-hmm.
European Union directive with no one is understanding. So what I'm doing now, if I see new European directive on ESG or circularity, I'm putting this into Gemini and I say, okay, what's changed from the last part? Because I'm really not willing to read another 16 pages of the document.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read the one and I'm putting the date. That's the new one. What's changed? And they're listing, okay, 3 points. So what's the idea of putting 16 pages if the three things changed? So yeah, I think the education on the matter of ESG is important, but from this perspective. And on the other, yeah, think about that it's supporting social and governance within the schools usually. So it might be also the part of the change within the schools
Mm-hmm.
if they're willing to report their ESG goals. And for example, universities are doing this. So I know that several of them are preparing their reports. So introducing the tool that will support one of these letters, I think it might be beneficial for them, and they might be more interested than it's just an educational tool.
Mm-hmm.
And usually every educational tool might be considered as a tool that is helping the social the governance. So think about it. Maybe that's some way to approach those who are not interested in education but more into ESG in the
Mm-hmm.
companies.
Right, and I feel a little bit of a clash here, well, because on the one side, startups want speed and market share.
Mhm.
On the other side, ESG says slow down, think about impact. And are these philosophies in conflict?
I don't know if they're in conflict. ESG is not about the slowing down. ESG is about reporting what you're doing and trying to get the information of how you're impacting, but it's not about, of course, it's nice to set up the goals to reduce something, right? But it's, from my perspective, preparing an ESG report is more for you to see where you are and think about where you can be or where you should be considering the regulation, right? So it's not about really stopping, not at all. It's about thinking about the better solutions, right? To do something. Because usually, okay, we can discuss the degrowth idea, which is super close to my heart, but it's not about the ESG now. So we're still Poland, we're still developing. We have to admit it. So no one wants to stop. We're not Denmark. Denmark is considering degrowth theories now. And yeah, I understand that. But we're still developing, so no one will stop. But we can think, because we have already resources, to rethink the way we're achieving these goals. So an example from the different category, which is also in my interest, it's a furniture industry. So what most of the huge furniture companies in Poland done lately? They set up their own photovoltaic farms or windmills. Why they done it? It's not because they are caring for environment, but of course in the reports they do. But they done it because the price of the electricity gets super high. So they done it in their own interest, but with the benefit for the environment, right? So we're yeah, it's a clash, but on the other hand, it's also trying to combine, because usually what we're doing, it will also affect positively the environment if you're doing some change nowadays, because no one is changing the machinery in the factory for a worse one. Usually they're changing it for a better. So it's also beneficial for the environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the previous machines wasn't working, and you will probably recycle them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So it is in a clash, but on the other hand, I think every step forward will be beneficial also for environment. So we need to change somehow. It should also, there's hard to force anyone for change. We
Mhm.
already said it multiple times today. But seeing the EU regulation that are really impacting and really forcing companies to change something, they're doing this usually also thinking about the profitability of their businesses. So they're not doing this only on the behalf of the environment, but also thinking about the profits that they can gain. And think about the subsidies they're getting from the government for this change, from European Union, etc. So I think it's a win-win game at the
Mhm.
moment. So it's not in a clash. I think it's a let's work together with different maybe approaches and main goals in our heads, but still approaching the proper way, the same way.
Mhm. This calls for a, like, I would say, a reality check when, well, how do you personally tell when it's a real change and impact versus when it's a just a Polish story for a media? In other words, how do you spot bullshit in all the "we are changing the world" talk?
There was lately the law about the greenwashing, right? So
Mhm.
I know that the real impact, it's not that they will put in your hotel information that if you're not use your towel, the environment won't be hurting that much. So I must admit it's hard, even for me, if I'm in this business and I'm working on it daily. I see that the companies are really on this matter, they're usually really good in marketing because every action they are doing, even if it's mostly for profitability, they usually can find also the argument that it's also good for the environment. But I think that's what the ESG reports are for,
Mhm.
because then we are quantifying the change. So if we'll see that it was X in year 2025 and it's going to be X minus 10% in 2026, we know it was quantified due to regulation and due to specific way, so they cannot lie about it. So that's one thing. Another thing is that there are already some organizations that they're saying, okay, let's check this out, and they are verifying it if they are telling the truth. Meaning, there was a huge issue lately with the Coca-Cola bottles that claimed that there are 98% from the recycled plastic, right? And it was a bullshit because it was 98% for the recycled plastic, but only for the cups, not for the whole bottles, right? So they get some huge fee to pay. So I think we should always double check.
Mhm.
But it's normally nowadays, I think that every information should be at least double check. And we should, mm, I can somehow believe in my guts, meaning, okay, I see this company is trying really hard since several years to do something, and they are doing not one thing, but there are multiple actions happening to approach and achieve some goal. And on the other hand, you see super huge company which is implementing one thing and claiming that is their huge change in the ESG, and we see that it's not about the ESG and the climate change, but it's about, for example, gaining the governmental subsidy. So they are doing
Mhm.
this. So I think it's super hard. It's one of the disinformation issues now. But
Mhm.
I tell about huge companies, and I don't want you to think that all of the huge companies are bad, right? Because
Mhm.
seeing what IKEA is doing, for example, for furniture industry, we might have different approaches to IKEA furniture. But I must admit, from amongst all the furniture companies, they are really setting up an example. For example, giving you the opportunity to give back your furniture, meaning the buyback model is working there. So you can go there and they have this second hand. They're doing a lot. So it's not only small companies doing a lot, but also sometimes big companies with the proper approach. They are doing a lot. It's Philips also. It's a wonderful example if you will like to see how huge company can change and gain profitability, still achieving their circularity and environmental goals. So it's yeah,
Mhm.
it's there already. But I think on a smaller scale it's easier. So it's also for the big companies. It's usually multiple people involved in the process, and a lot of time, and there's a lot of things that need to happen. And from the smaller companies, some of them, they don't even know that they are, for example, circular, or
Mhm.
they are achieving some of the goals, because they are just working on their best possible way, meaning they're reducing waste, because waste is, it's waste of money
It's
also.
waste.
So
Exactly.
yeah. So they don't even consider it as a ESG, and it is ESG, and it's care about environment, or they are, they're usually doing a lot, not thinking about it. But yeah, it's
When I listen to you, it seems like you're living three lives at a time. You're highly motivated. You're doing a lot. You are escaping the burnout. And I'm wondering on a more personal note, what's driving you and what keeps you going on?
oh, that's I don't know really. I
Okay.
I was I was always super involved in everything, So
Uh,
I think that's something I was born with. That's one thing. I think what's driving me now is the real need for change, meaning I want my actions to be impactful somehow. So that's the change into the education, and that's the change into the academics, and my PhD on the furniture industry, because I see that even one person like me might make a change. Meaning, what I'm trying to achieve with my PhD are the real implementation of circularity into furniture industry that still save profitability. Why I'm doing this, it's going to be patriotic. We're just after our Independence Day. Polish furniture industry is responsible for 2% of our GPD. So it's a lot. And we used to be the fourth or five, depends on the year, biggest exporter of the furniture. And now we're losing this. And we're losing this because the production in Poland started to become too expensive. So we're losing it for Vietnam, who's producing super cheap furniture which are exported worldwide. And I really want to be part of the change that we want Polish furniture industry to still be important, still be beneficial, and still get the proper profit for their owners. And I know how to do this, meaning I know that there are already examples that we can, at one thing, met the European Union requirements on the environmental issues, then still produce the furniture on super high quality and export them, and people would buy them.
mhm,
It's People are afraid, because they're afraid if they will implement the regulation, they will lose their profitability. And I understand it, because furnitures are made on really small margins usually. But after proper implementation, you can really work like you worked before, but with some extra level. So I'm really willing to see the change, and that's, it's not the change that one product is sold. Not in 1,000 units, but million units after the marketing campaign, but the real change in people's lives, and I don't know, helping. I think that's something that motivates me,
mhm.
and I like it. I like when it's happening. I like the change. I heard once that one thing constant in your life will be change, and that's true. So when
Mhm.
it's starting to be too boring, I'm, okay, let's find something to take care of. So yeah,
Lovely. And in what you're saying, I hear that marketing is kind of a glue in all of
yeah,
you talking about. It
yeah.
permeates every aspect of your interest.
I tell you one thing more, that marketing in truth drove me to academia, because what I started the postgraduate studies in marketing when I was already working in marketing during the Allegro times. And I attended the postgraduate studies in Poznań University of Economic and Business. And it was 2011, as far as I remember. And those studies were horrible, meaning they were only theoretical. They were really professors reading us books from 1995s, and they're trying to teach us marketing. And I was already working as so I was a practitioner. And after finishing those studies, they asked us for a feedback at the last classes. And, I'm honest person. So I said, it was horrible. It was waste of money. Sorry. And then approached me one of the deans or someone and asked me, okay, so sorry to hear that, but maybe you would like to help us with delivering the classes from the perspective of the practitioner. And I said, why not? And I said it was a why not, and no one will ever call. But 1 year later, then called me that they review the program of this postgraduate studies, and they would also like to add this program of how to run an advertising campaign to their studies on a bachelor degree. And maybe I would like to attend them, meaning as a lecturer, doing this
Mhm.
together with one of the professors. And I said, yes. And that's how my academia history started, meaning I'm here still at Poznań
Mhm.
University of Economics and Business, and I'm still doing this on top of other stuff. But
Mhm.
that was a change. I told that I wasn't happy, and now I'm bringing the new quality of
Mhm.
that because I'm giving the real life examples, and I'm really trying to skill people what will be happy to hire afterwards. Because what I think is also problematic with the academia at the moment, they're not giving a lot of practical skills. And after the studies, when you're hiring someone, you need to teach them everything. And I'm giving them, practical skills that they can use in their future work. So I think that's important.
Makes sense. Not only to complain, but also to do something with it.
Yeah, exactly. But I was surprised when they called, really. But then I said, why not? Okay, so why not? I'm doing this for 14 years now, or
So it's a
12.
true calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paulina, thank you. Thank you. I love how you bring clarity, honesty, and your boldness to that conversation. I hope people listening leave with one simple truth that it's not enough to build a great product, but you have to communicate them, understand a real need, and care enough to do it right. Thanks again for bringing both your brain and heart to this space, and I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation.
No, thank you very much. It was pleasure to talk.